What's up, y'all? Just wanted to talk about some boxing. It's been a while since I've done a live stream of my own talking about boxing today. Um, this year is looking promising, man. A lot of fights have been happening this past month and are gonna happen. Some fights that are perfect build-ups to another big fight in some of these divisions, man. We just had Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas. And I mean, obviously, some want to count the whole Golovkin-Murata fight, but personally, I didn't like Golovkin's choice of opposition, but it is what it is. But the rest of the fights this month, man, I'm liking them. I like Tyson Fury versus Dillian White. It's a good fight, even though it's not the one that everyone's asking for. It's definitely not the one I'm asking for, but I'm still gonna watch it, man. And we also got Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez, probably the biggest one that I want to see of the entire roster. Well, besides Devin Haney versus George Kambosos. Those two fights, man, are probably at the top of the list for me. And Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas, we'll talk about it right now. I think was number 3 for me, but definitely number 2 and 1 are Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez and Devin Haney versus George Kambosos. Man, it's a lot of great fights, man. So hopefully this leads into something, which leads me to make this live about what Megafight could be happening in 2022. Are we going to see one? And if so, which one? And personally, hold on. What's up, Chicano Prophet? How you doing today? All good on my side as well. Well, all right, let me see. Display. Yeah, I'm trying. All right. Yeah, this is the fight that we all want. Errol Spence versus Terrence Bud Crawford. Oh my God. This is the one that we've been waiting for. And, I see a lot of things on the internet talking about hoping, wishing both of these guys do bad in their performances. And like I was saying, in my live stream the other day, that nobody should be wishing any type of bad performances on these two, man, because that just hurts the fight. It kind of hurts both of their reputations, because the whole reason for this fight is because this is a mega fight between two fighters that are the best in their division. One of them is a pound for pound. Some people say that he's number 1. Some people don't agree with that, but hey, it is what it is. He's still up there. He's been up there for the longest out of all of the champions of this generation. And Errol Spence, man, he's one of the top fighters in the division. Everyone looks at him very highly, from the fighters that he's been fighting back to back on the PBC banner. And a lot of stuff is going on at welterweight that is moving a lot of stuff. You got Virgil Ortiz, you got Jaron Ennis coming into the picture, and these two guys need to fight each other already. It's already built up a lot of anticipation, and this performance with Errol Spence is really what everyone has been looking forward to seeing from Errol Spence. Even the haters, man, Errol Spence has a lot of haters, and they gotta admit that they love this performance. Some of them do, but others, we already know that they're not gonna understand how valuable it is to a fight like this with Terrence Crawford, because it adds a lot to Terrence Crawford's resume, man. It adds to his legacy, and vice versa, because Errol Spence, man, if he doesn't perform well, that doesn't make Terrence Crawford look good if Terrence Crawford ends up beating him. And the same goes for Terrence Crawford. If he didn't look good against Sean Porter, it's not going to look good for Errol Spence, So both of these guys, man, they continue to look dominant, in their last performances. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. Errol Spence, he's been calling out Terrence Crawford, believe it or not, after the fight. And I'm liking that energy, man. I'm loving it a lot. And Terrence Crawford is still on that energy too about Errol Spence. So this fight has to happen. Like I've said before, numerous amounts of times. And I hear that Keith Thurman wants to like butt in the way, you know, like even the PBC wants to like throw Keith Thurman in there, because Errol Spence made like a cryptic tweet about the PBC wanting Keith Thurman like just to be the next opponent for Errol Spence, and Errol Spence wasn't having it, man, you know, because there's a lot of stuff that everyone is speculating about Errol Spence leaving the PBC and all of that, but I don't think PBC should be going down that route of looking at Keith Thurman. Maybe for Terrence Crawford, you know, because Terrence Crawford needs an opponent, and he's probably the only one that should be like available for Terrence Crawford, then go into an Errol Spence fight. But I just want to see the Errol Spence fight already. I don't want to see Keith Thurman being thrown in there randomly when he hasn't fought somebody like a Jaron Ennis or a Virgil Ortiz in order to get in that position. And he could have like made his shot a long time ago, man, like during that whole layoff after the Manny Pacquiao loss. Like, he's had so many opportunities just to get back into the mix, but he let that slip away, man, you know, and now he's trying to manufacture his way and ruining an undisputed fight, or like making or prolonging the undisputed fight with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Like, it's bad, man. It's real bad. But I wanted to talk about some stuff that I didn't really emphasize on, like in the Spence versus Ugas fight. Spence did look kind of vulnerable, man, like in the 6th round. Like, I was kind of like thrown off when I saw Ugas land that punch on him, and then Errol Spence spit out his mouthpiece. And everyone is talking about like what happened afterward when Errol Spence was walking back and stuff. I'm looking at the punch that caused the whole reaction of Errol Spence spitting out his mouthpiece. That's kind of concerning to me, because when you're facing a guy like Terrence Crawford, who's good at like varying his punches on the lead hand, that's very dangerous, man. You know, like if you're facing a guy with that could fight out of both stances and actually mix up that very same lead hand. So like the uppercuts on Errol Spence, like they show a lot of vulnerability. Like, he shows a lot of vulnerability in taking those uppercuts, and so does Terrence Crawford, man. Like, Terrence Crawford, one of these guys is going to get hurt on the inside when they fight each other, because right now I'm looking at them, both of them, and I can see Terrence Crawford throwing a lot of good shots on the inside, but I also see Errol Spence's pressure probably getting to Crawford, man, believe it or not. But we're going to have to find out. Both of these guys are going to have to like put all bullshit aside, like all of the PBC, you know, like Keith Thurman talks aside, you know, like I'm pretty sure that Terrence Crawford understands that the fight is already as big as it needs to be right now. Like, I don't want to see this fight at 154 pounds or like when they finally meet for the first time. I want their battlegrounds to be at 147 the first time. If they're going to meet each other again, let it be at 154. That's cool, but make it happen at 147 pounds. Like, that's what matters the most to most of the fans, because you're actually preserving the fight at its purest. So that's why I'm liking this fight with Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, man, because there's a lot of back and forth, like with a lot of fans out there, but that's just what it is, you know. That's just the nature of the beast that comes with the sport. But it's mainly like the networks that decide between like what's gonna happen with these type of fights, you know what I mean? And I'm hearing a lot of stuff, man, like about certain entities like behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure y'all have seen on the news about like stuff that's going on in boxing politics and stuff, and I don't want to go too deep into that, man, because I'd rather listen to other channels like talk about it, man, because I know that they'll definitely go into that, man, you know. But hey, I actually think that that's a big thing right now. So whatever is happening, let's hope that this bullshit gets like swept under the rug that way. Or nah, I shouldn't say that. Like, let me rephrase that. I hope we put all of that bullshit aside. That way we can get this Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford fight, man. That's all that matters to me. I'm definitely willing to pay for a pay-per-view, or maybe actually going to see the fight myself, like depending on where it's at. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in Las Vegas or somewhere very neutral, you know, because not too many fans are reactive like to a Texas-based fight between Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. I know a lot of Errol Spence fans would love it. A lot of Texas fans would love it, but after the officiating that was there, you know, like in the Ugas fight with the referee, not too many fans are gonna like it. You know, the idea of it being in Texas because of the refereeing, of course. And they didn't like the job that he was doing with Ugas. I didn't even like it. I didn't even like the way that he was telling Errol Spence and Ugas to lift up their, well, to keep the punches up. But even though I hadn't seen anyone hit low, you know, that's just the body shots. You know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. But yeah, man, Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, that's a good one. You got Canelo versus Bivol happening this later on in May, around May 7th, I think. So that's a good one too. I mean, not everyone is like clamoring for it, and I understand that, but it's an interesting matchup, you know, like very interesting with the way that Bivol, like how big Bivol is and the way that he boxes, you know what I mean? So that could be an intriguing part of the fight, but I'm still leaning towards Canelo, man, because I just don't see anyone beating Canelo at the moment in that weight class, man, you know, because they don't really have like that type of skill set that thinks outside the box, you know. And even I'm not too sure about Beterbiev, man, because I want to reserve my opinion on Beterbiev because that guy's pretty strong, but at the same time he's getting much older, so that's why I can't really like say too much on it. So 1 second, y'all. All right, y'all, I'm back. But yeah, man, like the whole Canelo thing, it's kind of hard to see Canelo finding a dance partner, you know? And I'm hoping that most of these guys start to fight each other because even if they fight, this is what I've said before, like on different outlets. Like I've said that even if they fought Canelo and they beat Canelo, they're still gonna have to fight each other, you know, like hypothetically. Let's say if Artur Beterbiev beat Canelo and somehow one of the guys like from 168, you never know, maybe like Demetrius Andrade ended up there at 175 pounds. As crazy as it sounds, he's probably gonna have to still fight Beterbiev, you know, because that's the fight that everyone's gonna be looking at, because everyone's gonna be like, damn, he just beat Canelo, man. Yeah, Demetrius Andrade, why don't you fight Beterbiev and all that other stuff? You know what I mean? But that's just a random thing that I just threw out there. Like if Canelo loses to somebody, whether it be at 168 or 175 pounds, man, because the sport keeps on going. And the only way for me to see like some of these fights start happening like in the middleweight classes is for them to start fighting each other right now, you know, right before facing Canelo or even after facing Canelo, because they're all gonna have to see each other eventually, believe it or not. So it's a lot of stuff going on in those weight classes, man. And then you got at heavyweight, the whole situation with Joshua, Usyk, and Fury still has to get through Dillian White. And I'm about to do my breakdown prediction video later on this week about hold on. Let me take this off real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna do my breakdown prediction video of Tyson Fury versus Dillian White because there's a lot of interesting stuff going into a fight like that, man. You know, like some stuff that Fury has to be careful of and a lot of stuff that Dillian White has to be careful of. But hey, I'll explain it in my video later on this week. So at heavyweight, man, like I heard that there's still like some stuff going on with the whole Joshua versus Usyk thing. And um, I'm not sure when it's gonna take place. I hear that it's official, but I haven't seen any type of promotion, believe it or not. And there's a lot of stuff going around about Usyk losing like 20 pounds. So wouldn't that make him like 190, 180 around there? Because I know he usually weighs nowadays at heavyweight between 210 to 220. So he would have to be very light, man, you know. But then again, he would be able to replenish himself, you know, like once he gets back into a country, like let's say the United States or something like that, or the UK, he starts like filling his body with food, and he eventually gets back to like, I don't know, maybe something lighter, like 210 pounds. I think he's going to end up being lighter for Anthony Joshua, you know, so there's probably not going to be that much momentum going towards him, man. Like this could be a banana peel for Usyk, man, because you're taking him straight out of a war, going into a fight with Anthony Joshua, man. Like that's insane. A lot of stuff could be like going through his mind, like his family, his comrades. Like when you're in a war, man, like I know I never like was in the military, I understand that, but from based on the stories that I've heard from people that I know that were in the military, man, like they hold a lot of like strong regards like to their comrades, you know, even in war situations, you know. And a lot of stuff could be going through their mind, like I should be there like on the front lines with them, you know, like they could end up getting hurt or you know, raided by some Russians or yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that, but anyways, back to the point. I'm expecting Joshua versus Usyk being very man, I just lost my train of thought, man, because I didn't want to say that out loud. Because nowadays, man, you know how it is with like monetization and a lot of like the algorithms nowadays, you know, especially during these times. But I think Usyk is gonna come in lighter, and I'm not sure like if he's gonna stop Joshua like how everyone was expecting him to do if they did a rematch. Because if Joshua finds a trainer and he's able to get accustomed to him, you know, like James Ali Bashir, that could be a problem for Usyk, man, because Usyk has already trained with James Ali Bashir, and nobody knows him as much as James Ali Bashir. I mean, obviously, you have like some trainers that are European trainers, like Anatoly Lomachenko, all of them. But in terms of the American trainer, like the American style of fighting, I think James Ali Bashir is a pretty decent fit for somebody like Anthony Joshua, man. But my only gripe about it is that he needs more time with him before going into a fight with Usyk, because going into a fight with Usyk, it's a whole different puzzle. Like it's not just about the size or anything like that. It's about like footwork. It's about angles. It's about like trajectory, keeping somebody on the end of your jab, on the stick, everything like that, man. Like it's a whole different animal when you're dealing with Usyk. You know, like you have to think and form a game plan like how a welterweight forms a game plan, not just like how a heavyweight forms a game plan with a guy like Usyk, man. Because remember, he was the undisputed champion at cruiserweight. And when you're dealing with a guy that used to be at cruiserweight, who's already sparred with guys at the lower weight classes, he gets sparring that nobody else gets at heavyweight, you know, because they're too big for somebody like, let's say, at light heavyweight or super middleweight, you know. Usyk could be sparring a guy like David Benavidez, for all I know. He could be sparring guys like Dmitry Bivol, and a bunch of other stuff to keep into consideration. But with a guy like James Ali Bashir, man, you know, like he's used to be part of the Kronk Gym, you know, and just like his wealth of knowledge that he could just put on Anthony Joshua, that's a good idea, you know. But like I said before, man, he needs more time to get acclimated with those type of trainers, man, because going into a fight with Usyk, unless it's his best chance to do it, like as Usyk is like barely coming out of a war, you know. So hey, it is what it is. I'm not sure who's gonna win that fight, but I'll make a fight week breakdown and prediction of it. But there's a lot of variables, man. Like everyone is expecting it to be all black and white, talking about, oh, Usyk is just gonna dominate. Yeah, Usyk is still gonna win, but you don't realize the mentality of what Usyk might be going through. And the same with Anthony Joshua, man. Like, how well will he be acclimated to his training? But I know for certain, like, Joshua is pretty good at these rematch clauses, but even though he's only had one rematch, which was with Andy Ruiz after suffering his first loss to him, he still managed to make some type of adjustment and dominated Andy Ruiz. So could he make one against Usyk? I don't know. I really don't know, man. But hey, we'll find out and see. You know what I mean? We'll really find out. But what else is there to talk about? But yeah, man, like there's a lot of stuff going on in boxing. So I'm hoping to see a mega fight by the end of the year. Whether it be, I'll tell you for certain that it's not going to be Golovkin versus Canelo. I already know that fight is going to happen, but that's not a mega fight at this point. Like, I don't care what anyone says. The mega fights between those two already happened in 2017 and 2018, so you can forget about that. But the mega fight, I think it is going to be Crawford versus Spence. Or some other big fight later on this year, like maybe the undisputed fight at heavyweight, But a lot of stuff has to come into play, like Fury has to win, and whoever the winner of Joshua versus Usyk is, hey, you never know. It could be Joshua, man. Like Joshua could end up upsetting the plans of Usyk and getting back into that contention of like the whole British showdown between him and Tyson Fury. And he could still have a big British showdown, like if Dillian White beats Fury. But I'm pretty sure that Fury would have a rematch clause with Dillian White. So that would be bad. I would have to say that it would be horrible if Dillian White won, because that would postpone the undisputed heavyweight fight until for a while, man. Because I'm not sure like how that contract is, or what a rematch clause is for Tyson Fury in the scenario that he loses. So that's my thing about it with the whole heavyweight thing. But the closest thing to a mega fight that we might get this year is definitely Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence. And can't wait for him, man. Like just looking at the list, like at cruiserweight, light heavyweight, not too many mega fights like that. There's big fights that could happen, like obviously you got Canelo versus Bivol, but he needs to get through Bivol. But to be honest, man, I think Canelo versus Beterbiev or Charlo would be a mega fight, somewhat close to a mega fight, but it's just not like definitive, you know what I mean? Because it's not really split. Because everyone understands that Canelo might end up just winning those fights. Like to me, those are like 60-40 type of fights. And I'm not talking about persistent bullshit like that. I'm talking about like the odds of them winning and stuff. Some of those fights are 60-40, but for me, some of those fights are 70-30. Like Canelo versus Beterbiev and Canelo versus Charlo, But hey, it is what it is, man. Like those are the stuff that I wanted to talk about today in boxing. Like, you got a lot of things going on right now, but just keep an eye out, Like, a lot of stuff could happen within the next couple months. Contracts could be signed. A lot of fights that you won't even expect that are actually segueing into a big fight in the division. All of that. But appreciate it, y'all. I'm about to probably watch some movies and stuff on Paramount. Yeah, I'm probably gonna watch that Jackass one because I never got to watch Jackass, the new one. So appreciate it, y'all. and I'll probably be doing a little bit more live streams, but I want to do more videos on my predictions and stuff like that. So appreciate it, y'all, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.